Today we are going to discuss the particulars of music and music education. In this music and music education chapter, now let us enter into the musical forms, that is of South Indian classical music, and with details of different musical forms of South Indian classical or Carnatic music, part 1. We find many composers of Carnatic music have composed, like 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗧, Muthuswami Dikshitar, Shyama Shastri, Purandaradasa, Jayadeva, and many more composers who have contributed their services to build up the Carnatic music style in the South Indian classical music form. Now, the first point I want to tell you about the South Indian classical music is the compositions we are now singing have got separate entitles and lakshanas. These lakshanas are different in varnas and different in kirtanas and different in the basics, that is sarali swaras, alankaras, swara jatis and swara pallavis and many more. You will get the details in the future of these items. Now let us go to the different musical forms of South India, and the compositions are divided into Abhyasagana and Sabhagana. In this particulars of Abhyasagana is nothing but the learning lessons of Carnatic music of South India. All these Abhyasagana refer to all the basics of South Indian Carnatic music. All the sarali swaras, janta swaras, hechusthai swaras, dhatu swaras, tagusthai swaras, and also the specially composed in 7 talas by Purandaradasa, that is 7 saptatala alankaras, that is Dhruva, Mathya, Rupaka, Jhampa, Triputa, Atatala and Ekatala. These are all the saptatalas you have learnt in the before classes. All the saptatalas alankaras are composed in the South Indian Carnatic music basics. And going to the next point, swarajatis, swara pallavis, varnas. What I mean to say is, from sarali swaras to varnas, these are all the chapters of Abhyasagana. And after the varnas, we see the section kirtanas and kritis. These kirtanas and kritis are the higher forms of the South Indian Carnatic music. That is, after the varnas, the Abhyasagana will be finished and the students will enter into the chapter of these kritis and kirtanas. These kritis and kirtanas have pallavi, anupallavi and charanas and many more points you will know in the next section. And this, after the kritis and kirtanas, you can observe the Sabhagana format, that is including kritis, kirtanas, javalis, padams, daruvus, tillana, taranga, annamacharya kirtana, and all these are called as Sabhagana, because when we perform on the stage, in the performances or in the programs or in sabhas, we present all these compositions like kruti, kirtana, taranga and many more Sabhagana. So you have to remember one point, that is kritis and kirtanas section, starting from these sections are all referred to Sabhagana. Now I want to just explain the main points of South Indian Carnatic music, musical forms, and the first point is Geetha. Geetha is also compared as Abhyasagana. Geetha, the first one is Geetha, the second one Swara Pallavi, and the third one after the Swara Pallavi we have to learn is Swarajati, and after this Swarajati we will enter into Varna. Varna is a very big part of the Abhyasagana, and then the fifth one is Kirtana. Kirtanas are composed by Ramadasa, Purandaradasa and many more. And next, when we go to the next point, it is Kruti. After the Kruti, we have to know the points about Pada. This Pada is also called as Padam. And then the other forms are Javali, Ashtapadi and Tarangam. All these are referring to the Abhyasagana and Sabhagana. And now I want to explain some of the details of Geetha. About this Geetha, you have to remember the first point is the meaning of Geetha means a song. That is not a big kirtana, but it is a very small song composed in 10 to 12 lines, and it is a very simplest musical form that is composed by Sangeeta Pitamaha Sri Purandara and it is very easy to sing for the beginners of Carnatic music. And about this Geetha, it is composed in a simple devotional melody song with the same tempo throughout the song. Same tempo means in Tillanas and in bhajans, North Indian bhajans particularly, we increase the speed in some lines and again we will remain to the same tempo of the starting Pallavi. But in this Geethas, from the starting to the end we find the same tempo. Tempo means the speed of the song. The tempo will remain throughout the Geetha, will be the same. I will just show some example for this. That is శ్రీగణనాథ సింధూరవర్ణ కరుణ సగర కరివదన లంబోదరల కుమికర అంబాసుత అమర వినుత. This is the first Geetha of basics, that is శ్రీగణనాథ సింధూరవర్ణ. And if you find in this point, it is very simply composed in the same tempo from the starting to the end. And now we can observe that these Geethas are all set in medium tempo and there are no Sangatis and variations. About these Sangatis, we have to know the meaning of Sangatis. That is how means these Sangatis in Kirtanas, we find these Sangatis in Kirtanas, but there are no variations in these Geethas. Sangatis means the difference between each line to line. I will just show some example of Tyagaraja Kirtana. Marugelara o Raghava. This is the first variation. Marugelara o Raghava, Marugelara o Raghava. If you see this song, Marugelara, composed by Tyagaraja, it differs from each line to line. The Sahitya will be the same, but the Sangatis means nothing but the variations between the musical notes. So, in the Pallavi of this Marugelara O Raghava, we can find different musical notes of combination in variations. That is called Sangatis. But in this Geetha, the Abhyasa Gana of Geetha, we cannot find any Sangatis or variations, because for the beginners of the Carnatic music, they have to learn very easy form. So, these Geethas contains no Sangatis and variations in the form. And let us know, is there any Pallavi, Anupallavi or Charanas for these Geethas? I mean to say, there is no division of this Pallavi and Anupallavi and Charanams for the Geethas, because Geethas are very simple to sing. It has only stanzas, first stanza, second stanza, third stanza. In this way, the main tempo will be the same and there is no divisions of Pallavi, Anupallavi, and also there are no Charanam divisions in the Geetha section. And now we will move to the next point. The Geetham consists of 10 or 12 avartanams. As I said before in the point, there is no division of Pallavi and Anupallavi and Charanas, but it will be having the paragraph wise or stanza wise the division. That is 10 to 12 avartanams. Avartanams means, for example, if it is singing in the Rupaka Tala, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is called one avarta. In this kind of avartams, you will have 10 or to 12 avartanams for a Geetha. I will just show some lines for you. Swaram, I will sing a swaram for you. Dapa magari sari ma pada ri ri sa dapa magari sa sari ri dapa magari sa sari magari sari gari sa. This is swaram and the Sahityam comes like this. Kunda gaura gauri vara mandiraya manamakuta mandara kusuma karamakarandam vasituva Chandamama mandakini mandiraya manamakuta mandara kusuma karamakarandam vasituva hemakuta simhasana virupaksha karunakara Mandara kusuma karamakarandam vasituva. If you observe this Geetha, this is the second Geetha of Purandara composed in Malahari Raga. It is containing 10 or 12 avartanams. So you have to remember that there will be no Pallavi and Anupallavi and Charanams, but only it will be having 10 to 12 avartanams of the Sahitya along with swara. And one more point I want to discuss is, some Geethams have Sancharams in Mandarasthai and Tarasthai too. Sancharams means the notes, combination of notes will be differing in Mandarasthai and also as well as Tarasthai. Mandarasthai means the low notes, Tarasthai are the higher notes. I just want to show some example of this Mandarasthai and Tarasthai. Harihara Vinota Amara Pujiture Vamana Rupa Ekadanta Chaturbhujaya Lambodarure Sakala Siddhi Phaladaya Kurere Pashankushadhara Dishanudarure Vamana Rupa Ekadanta. In this Harihara Vinuta Nata Geetham, it is composed by Purandaradasa in Nata Raga. If you observe this, you will find the sancharams, that is musical notes, in high pitch and also in low octaves. I just sing some swara for you. Sa sa ni pa pa ma ga ma pa sa sa ni pa sa sa. This is the high notes. Sa ma 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 ri ga ma pa ma ma ri sa 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 ni pa da ni sa ri sa sa ri. These are all the Mandarasthai or the low notes. So you can find that some Geethas have sancharams in Mandarasthai and also the Tarasthai too. Now I just want to tell that the Geethams are composed in only Tamil language, Sanskrit language and also Kannada. In Kannada we find composed by Purandaradasa and as well as Sanskrit also he have composed. In Tamil there are composers of Geethams. And now moving to the next point, we have two major divisions in Geetham, that are two kinds of Geethams we can say. First one is Sadharana Geetham. Sadharana Geetham means, in Telugu Sadharana means it's very common or simple. And this Sadharana Geetham is also called as Samanya Geetha or Sanchara Geethams. Samanya Geetham means very simple Geethams to sing, and Sanchara Geethas means some of the swaras will take part in these Geethas. And moving to the next point, this Sahityam in the Geethas is praising God. Almost all the Geethams Sahityam will be praising the God, and it is very simple in singing. And moving to the next point, this Sadharana Geetha, I just want to show some examples composed by Sri Purandaradasa. The first one is Sri Gananatha, composed in Malahari Raga Rupaka Tala, and the same Kere Neeranu Geetham is also composed by Purandaradasa in Malahari Raga, and it is composed in Triputa Tala. I just want to sing one line for you. Kereya Neeranu Kerege Jalli Varava Padedavaranti Kaniro Hariya Karunadolada Bhagyava Hari Samarpane Madi Batukiro. This is the Kere Neeranu Geetham. And the third one is Varavina, that is composed in Mohan Raga and Rupaka Tala. Varavina Mrudupani Vanaruhalochanurani Suruchira Bambaraveni Suranuta Kalyani. This is the Geetha Varavina, composed in Mohan Raga and Rupaka Tala. And moving to the next division of Geethams, that are called Lakshana Geethams. Lakshana Geethams are very important and very hard for students to learn, because Samanya or Sanchari Geethas till now you have learnt is very simplest form and there will be no Sangatis. But in this Lakshana Geethas it explains the structure of raga in which this Geetham is composed. And in these Lakshana Geethams we can find the Sahityam that will explain Lakshana of particular Melakarta. That is, if it is in Mayamalagola, it will explain the Swarasthanas and the particulars of that Raga Lakshana of the particular Raga, and also Varja Vakra Swaras. That is, in some Geethams the composers have explained what are the Varja Swaras and Vakra Swaras. Varja Swaras means missing Swaras, Vakra Swaras means the twisting of the Swaras. Varja Swaras means if it is the Sari Mapa Dasa Sadapa Magarisa, we find that Sari Mapa Dasa, the Ga is missing in the Arohana, Sadapa Magarisa, in the Sadapa Magarisa, Ni is the missing word or missing swara. This kind of ragas are called as Varja Swaras, and that can be explained in the Geethams Sahityam too. And Vakra Swaras means the twisting of swaras in the Arohana and Avarohana. And I just want to show some example of this Lakshana Geethas, that is Sri Ragam. It is composed by Purandaradasa, Sri Ragam Meenakshi. मीनाक्षी जय कामाक्षी कंकटीकवामाक्षी. This is a Sri Ragam Geetham, Lakshana Geetham, that is called, composed by Sri Purandaradasa. So till now you have learned that the Geetham is the South Indian musical form. The first one is Geetham. You have know the details till now. And these divisions in Geethams are also composed by Purandaradasa, Paidala Gurumurti Shastri and Tiger Varadachari and many more. These all composers have contributed their services for Carnatic music composing Geethas. So till now you have known that there are two varieties of Geethas, that is Sanchara Geethas and Lakshana Geethams, two divisions, and also their structure. Now we are going to discuss the particulars of different musical forms of South Indian Carnatic music, and in that section now we are going to discuss the details of Swara Pallavi. The Swara Pallavi is taught to the students after the completing of Geethas chapter. Geethas are containing Swaram and Sahityam in this structure, and in this Swara Pallavi it is composed in medium speed and it contains only Swara and there is no Sahitya. If you observe in the Geethas, you will learn Geethas along with Swaram and Sahityam, and also the Geethams will be able to sing all the three speeds, that is first speed, second speed, third speed, that is first column, second column and third column. But this Swara Pallavi contains no speeds, no three speeds, it will be only in the medium speed, and there is no Sahitya in this Swara Pallavi because it is also practiced, this Swara Pallavi is also practiced by vocalists and also as well as instrumentalists. Practicing these swaras help their knowledge to take command on the swara sthanas of the instruments or the vocals. And now moving to the next point of Swara Pallavi details. This Swara Pallavi, each charanam is composed in different way of swaras. That is, if you observe in the Geethas comes before the Swara Pallavi lessons. In the Geethas, the patterns are composed in the same musical forms, that is Pallavi and the next stanza and also the last stanza. All the paragraphs will be in the same musical tune, and there will be no change Pallavi 2 and the next line and the last line. But in this Swara Pallavi, if you observe, Pallavi is composed in different tune, and all the other charanams, that is excluding the Anupallavi, all the charanams, each charanam differs in the different music. And we can observe some charanas along with jatis also. Jatis means takita, tadiginata, takadimi takita. These are all the notes played by Mridangam artists and also the dance artists, Kuchipudi or Bharatanatyam. So if you observe like this, the Swara Pallavi contains swaras and also in some charanams along with the jatis. And moving to the next point, these all Swara Pallavis are composed in Aditala and Chaputalas, because Aditalam is regularly used talam in all forms, that is Kirtana, Geethas, and all the basics are composed by Purandaradasa in Aditala. And these Swara Pallavis along with Aditala, it is also composed in Chaputalas. Chaputalas are Khanda Chapu and Mishra Chapu are regularly used talas. So these Swara Pallavis are composed in Adi and Chaputalas. And some of the famous composers of this Swara Pallavi are Swati Tirunal, Ramacharyalu, Ponnaya Pillai and many more composers. And now I just want to show some examples of this Swara Pallavi. They are composed in some major ragas and also including some small ragas like Hindola and also Kambhoji raga. And now moving to the next section, that is different musical forms of Carnatic music, that is South Indian music. The form is Swarajati. Swarajati will be taught to the students after completing of Swara Pallavi. Swara Pallavi contains only swaras and jatis, in some jatis in charanas. And now Swarajati, if you observe, it is a form of Carnatic music which is helpful before learning Varnas. The Varnas are highly enriched with the Gamakas, and structure of music is very highly included in Varnas, but these Swarajatis are somewhat simpler than Varnas. So it is a form of Carnatic music which is helpful before learning or before going to the learning Varnas. And these parts of Swara-Jati are Pallavi, Anupallavi and Charanas. Swara Pallavi has no divisions in Sahityam, but this Swara-Jati has the parts of Pallavi, Anupallavi and also some Charanas. Now in this Swara-Jati, the theme of Swara-Jatis are related either to Bhakti, love or courage. Many of Swara-Jatis are composed in praise of Lord Krishna and Shiva, and the Swara-Jatis can be sung in music concerts and dance concerts too, because Swara-Jatis looks like the form of Kirtana. Kirtana is composed in medium tempo, and these Swara-Jatis are also composed in medium tempo, and it is very useful and helpful for the musicians to present these Swara-Jatis in the music concerts too. And also many dancers, Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam, they also adopted these Swara-Jatis into their dance forms, and for the past 20 years they are doing these Swara-Jatis for the dance programs too. These Swara-Jatis contains only Swara and Sahitya also. There is no Jatis in between the Swara and Sahitya for these Swara-Jatis, but it contains the Sahitya and also Swara. In these Swara-Jatis, they are composed in regularly used Aditala, Rupakatala and Chaputalas. Many of the composers have composed many Swara-Jatis in Aditala, that is regularly used, and Rupaka and also Chaputalas. These Swara-Jatis have both Swaram and Sahityam in it, and I just want to show some examples of these Swara-Jatis. That is in Bilahari Raga, Aditala, Rara Venu, and in Khamas Raga, Aditala, the composition is Samba Shiva. I just want to show some differences between Swaram and Sahityam, how it is composed in the structure of this Swara-Jati. Sariga pada sanida pada pamagari sari sanida sa. This is the Pallavi Swaram of Swara-Jati, the first Pallavi, and the Sahityam comes like this. Raravenu Gopabala Rajita Sadguna Jayashila. The Pallavi is like this, and when we move to the next part, Sariga Pamaga Padari Sanida Pamagari, and the Sahityam Sarasakshane Ramemi Marubari Korvalera. Again we move to the Pallavi. Raravenu Gopabala Rajita Sadguna Jayashila. And next Charanams Papa Riri Gapa Magaga. Here Sahityam is Palumaruluga Ravamunanin. In this way, the Pallavi is different in musical notes, and Anupallavi is also composed in a different method, and the other Charanams differs in different musical notes, and also Sahityam also changes according to the Swara in Swara-Jati. Whereas Geethams and Swara Pallavi, they have no Sangatis and no variations, but these Swara-Jatis have many variations, that is many changes in the Swara combinations, and it looks like different musical notes in each line. Now we are moving to the particulars of different musical forms of Carnatic music, and the chapter is Varna. These Varnams are a part of Abhyasagana. Abhyasagana means the practice for the learners. After the Swara-Jatis, the Varnas are taught to the students, and these Varnas are highly scholarly compositions, and these Varnas are practiced with great care by both vocalists and also instrumentalists, because for the instrument players also they have to know the details of Swarasthanas and different Gamakas and different variations and different speeds. Till Geethams, the beginners will learn only first, second, third, all the speeds, and in Swara-Jati it is only composed in the medium speed, and it covers all the speeds in its Charanas. And in Varnas is the Abhyasagana part. The learners or the beginners of this Carnatic music have to practice with great care about the first speed and also second speed, Gamakas and variations. And the practice of Varnas helps an artist in artistic polishing of their Gamakas and stylish rendering of masterpieces. These Varnas are also called as masterpieces because it is a foundation course for the beginners to go to the Kirtanas, and this Varnas singing also helps in singing different speeds for their voice practices and instrumental practices, and different gamakas and also variations, and also singing stylish patterns of the muktaiswaras, chittaswaras as well as sahitya clarity. And about this varnas, going to the next point, the ettugada swara passages serves models for development of kalpana swaras in kritis, because the ettugada swaras are different from each together. The first one is different, the second one is different. In that form, we find that after the charanam there are 4 parts that are called passages, 4 passages or 5 passages that are called ettugada swaras. After practicing ettugada swara, an artist or a musician can able to sing development of kalpana swaras in kritis. Kalpana swaras means we have to sing the swaras on our own according to the tala beats combinations. So these varna practices helps to the beginners to develop their skills for kalpana swaras in the kritis. And now let us know what are the angas or parts division of varnas. If you observe in Gitas, there are only paragraph wise splitting, and in Swarajatis there is Pallavi, Anupallavi and some charanas. But in Varnas, let us observe that there are 2 major parts division of Varnas. The first one is Purvanga. Purvanga consists of Pallavi, Anupallavi and Muktaiswaram. Mainly the first part of the Varna, that is Pallavi, contains 2 lines, Anupallavi is also containing 2 lines, and after this Pallavi and Anupallavi comes the Muktaiswaram. Muktaiswaram contains 2 to 4 lines. In Begada Varnam, if we observe, we have more lines for Muktaiswara, whereas in Darbar, Hamsadvani and other all small Varnas, Sthana Varnas, if we observe, it has Muktaiswarams in 2 to 3 lines. These all the parts of Purvanga, that is Pallavi, Anupallavi and Muktaiswaras are the first part of that is called Purvanga. And moving to the next anga division of varnas, that is Uttaranga. Uttaranga is the second part of varna singing, and in Uttarangam we have Charanam and Chittaswaras. Charanam contains swaram and sahityam, but in programs and in concerts or in the examinations we can sing the Charanam only sahityam. Sahityam can be sung for the Charanam, and after the Charanam sahityam we can sing first, second, third, fourth. In that way the Chittaswaras are composed. We can present that Chittaswaras. So the Uttarangam part of the Varnam is the second part of Varnam, and it contains one Charanam along with Chittaswaras. Between each Chittaswara we have to sing the Charanam. This is called the Uttarangam part of the Varna. And in this musical form of Varna, the length of Purvanga and Uttaranga are equal. If you observe, the length means the avartams selected for the composition of Varna. That is 1 avartam, 2 avartams for Pallavi and Anupallavi, 2 avartams, and Muktaiswaram 2 to 3 or 4 avartams. This is the first part, Purvanga, and Uttaranga, the Charanam is containing 1 avartam, and the first Chittaswaram contains 1 avartam, the second 1 avartam, and the third Chittaswaram 2 avartams, and the fourth Chittaswaram 4 to 5 avartams. This is the pattern of the Uttaranga. So including all these parts, if you observe, the length of Purvanga and Uttaranga are equal. And now moving to the next point of Varna, we have to know what are the classification of Varnas, because there are many Varnas classification, that is Tana Varna, Pada Varna, and after this Tana Varna, Pada Varna, we have also some details that it is composed in Navaraga Malika Varna, Atatala Varna, Jhampetala Varnas. In some places they sing Madhyatala Varnas and many more. So basically the Varnas are regularly, what we sing is divided into 2 parts, that is first one is Tana Varna and the second one is Pada Varna. So I just want to explain what is Tana Varna. The Tana Varna is an earlier composition. Earlier compositions means after finishing the Gitas, Swarajatis and Swarapallavi, these learners have to learn this Tana Varna, and the first composer of this Tana Varna is Pachimiriam Adi-Appaya. This Pachimiriam Adi-Appaya is considered as Tana Varna Margadarshi. He is the first composer of Tana Varna pattern, and this Pachimiriam Adi-Appaya has composed these Tana Varnas between 1718 and 1784 AD. And this Thanavarna can be sung at the commencement of a concert, because many musicians from the past period to till now, the Varna they will be singing in the starting of the concert, because Varna is the best practice for the musicians, and they can be able to sing 2 speeds, and their voice practice can be shown in this Thanavarna in the beginning of the concert. And this Thanavarna Sahitya contains Pallavi, Anupallavi and Muktaiswaram. That is, if you observe in this Varna, Thanavarna, the Sahityam is composed only for Pallavi part, Anupallavi part and Muktaiswaram. And the Sahityam is on Bhakti or Shrungara, or maybe in praise of a patron. That is, many Sahityas, if you observe in Ninnu Kori and Valachi Vachi, these are all based on Bhakti, Shrungara or maybe in praise of a patron. And these all Varnas are practiced as vocal exercises to develop voice culture and mainly to maintain the perfect Shruti, because all these Varnas in the olden days they used to practice in 6 speeds, that is 6 speeds, and now it has come down to 2 speeds. So 2 speeds are very easy for learners to sing in the programs, or for learning also it is very easy for them to learn for first and second speed. And it is very good exercises to develop their voice culture and also maintain the good Shruti. And these Varnas can be practiced in double and triple speed. We can sing these Varnas in first speed, second speed and also as well as third speed, that is triple speed. We just now want to include the composers of Thanavarna. First one is 𝗳𝗏𝗻𝗃𝗃 𝗺𝗃, second Pallavi Gopal Iyer, third Veena Kuppayar, and the fourth person is Pallavi Gopal Iyer, and fifth one the composer is Swati Tirunal, and sixth Patnam Subramanya Iyer, seventh Ramanathapuram Srinivasa Iyengar. These are all the composers of Varnas. And now let us know some details of examples of these Thana Varnas. In Mohana Raga we have Mohana Raga Aditala Ninnu Kori Varnam, and Abhogi Raga Aditala 𝗹𝗶𝗇 Varnam, and Begada Raga Aditala Inta Chalamu Varnam, and Darbar Raga Aditala Chalamela Varnam. These are all the Thana Varnas composed by our musicians. And now just you have seen some examples of these Thana Varnas. I just want to show some speeds variations in the Thana Varna. That is first Mohana Raga Ninnu Kori Varna. Ga ga ri sa sa ri ri ga ga ri ri sa ri ga ri sa ri sa da sa ri ga pa ga ri sa ri. This is swaram of Ninnu Kori Varna, first speed. And the second speed is ga ga ri sa sa ri ri ga ga ri ri sa ri ga ri sa ri sa da sa ri ga pa ga ri sa ri. This is a Pallavi. And the Muktaiswaram is ga ri sa ri sa ga ri ga sa ri sa da sa ri ga pa da pa. In this way, if you observe, the Varnas are composed in first speed and also second speed. In some concerts they present the third speed also. So in this way you have got the details of different musical forms of South Indian classical music, and the chapter is Varna. Know some details of different musical forms of South Indian Carnatic music, and the chapter is Padavarna. After the learning of Thana Varnas, it comes the Padavarna chapter, and this Padavarna is also called as Chaukakala Varna because it is composed in very slow tempo, and this has a predominantly slow movements. That is, the slow movements means all the Sahityam that comes very slow in this Padavarna, and also swara comes also very slow, and this Padavarnam is also called as Chaukakala Varnas, and this Chaukakala Varnas has a predominantly slow movements, and the Sahitya present in this Padavarna entirely, and that means in Padavarnas you will observe Pallavi, Anupallavi and Muktaiswaram along with the Sahitya. In Thana Varna you do not observe any Sahitya for Muktaiswaram and also ettugada swaras, but in Padavarnas you observe the entire Sahityam for full Varna, that is Pallavi, Anupallavi, Muktaiswaram and Charanam. After the Charanam there will be ettugada swaras. That ettugada swaras also contains the Sahityam, and these Varnas are mainly heard in dance concerts. That means we can observe these Pada Varnas in classical music concerts, and many dancers have adopted these Pada Varnas in these dance concerts, because the Sahityam is very good and Sahityam is very flowful, and they can show different movements in their dance forms. So the dancers have adopted these Padavarnas into their dance forms. And about the tempo, in Padavarnas the tempo is very slow, and in Tanavarnas it is medium, but in Padavarnas, where if we observe, the tempo is very slow, and it conveys the good bhava in Sahityam as it is composed in slow tempo, because when you sing in the slow tempo, the gap between the Sahityam can be heard very good. So it conveys the good bhava in Sahitya as it is composed in slow tempo. And now I just want to show some names of the composers of Padavarna. They are 𝗂𝗽𝗱𝗁𝗍, 𝗧𝗦𝗱𝗻𝗁, Ramaswamy Shivan, 𝗂𝗶𝗍𝗁𝗍 𝗂𝗶 𝗔𝗃. These are all the composers' names of the Padavarnams. And now some examples for these Padavarnams are Natakuranji Raga Aditala. There is a Varnam that is Chalamela. It is very popular Varna both in music concerts and also dance concerts too. Now you are going to know some details about the different musical forms of South Indian Carnatic music, and the chapter is Kirtana. This Kirtana is very older than the Kriti. Kirtana has its birth in the later half of the 14th century. In the 12th century also we can observe that Jayadeva, Bhakta Jayadeva has composed his compositions Ashtapadis. They are known as Ashtapadis. In that Ashtapadis he gave birth to this Kirtana format, but in later 14th century there are many composers who have contributed their services for this Kirtana, and mainly if you observe, Talapaka composers were the first to compose Kirtana form in 1400 to 1500. Now you can just know some details of a division of Kirtanas. That is, the parts of Kirtanas are Pallavi, Anupallavi and Charanams. If you observe in Varnas and Swarajatis, it has many different parts. In Varnas you will observe Muktaiswaram and ettugada swaras, but whereas in Kirtanas you can observe Pallavi, Anupallavi and Charanams. And in this Kirtana section the Sahityam is more important than Swara. That is, the Sahityam is given more preference than Swara. And now moving to the next point, all Charanams, after the Pallavi and Anupallavi, Charanam comes. All these Charanams are sung in the same Dhatu notation. In the musical language, Dhatu means Swaram, Matu means Sahityam. So all the Charanams after coming next to the Anupallavi, all the Charanams can be sung in the same Dhatu notation. I just want to show some example. Purandaradasa or Ramadasa, they have composed the same Kirtana pattern, that is the Charanams comes in the same notation. I just want to show some example of Ramadas Kirtana, Paluke Bangaramaina. Here the first Charanam to last Charanam are the same tune, that is Paluke Bangaramaye Pilachina Palukavemi. This is the same tune. And next Iravuga Isukalona Poralina Uduta Bhaktike. If you observe in this musical tune, the tune music notes are the same for first Charanam to last Charanam. And in the Kirtanas the music is very short. Music has not lot of preference, and Sahityam has main preference in the Kirtana section. Sometimes we find Kirtanas without Anupallavi, and this kind of Sahitya is called as Samishti Charana. Mainly Muthuswami Dikshithar, he is the Vagayakara musical trinity. He has composed some kritis in the format of Samishti Charana. Samishti Charana means it has Pallavi and only one Charana, the long Charana, long Sahityam containing the Charana, and there will be no Anupallavi part in the Kirtana. I just want to show some example, that is Nataragam Ekatalam composed by Muthuswami Dikshithar, and the Kirtana is Mahaganapatim. If you observe in this Mahaganapatim, the Charanam comes like this, that is called Samishti Charanam, and there is no Anupallavi in this Mahaganapatim. The Pallavi Mahaganapatim manasa smarami. This is the Pallavi, and next comes immediate only the Samishti Charanam, that is Mahadeva Sutam Guru Guha Vinotam Marakoti Prakasham Shantam, and the last part is Mahakavya Nataka Dipriyam Mushika Vahana Modaka Priya Mahaganapatim. In this way, if you observe Mahaganapatim Kirtana, the Muthuswami Dikshitar has composed only Pallavi and along with the Samishti Charana. You cannot observe any Anupallavi in between this Kirtana. And Kirtanas are composed in familiar raga and easy to sing, because after the Varnas it comes for the beginners to learn. It is the format Kirtana, and Kirtanas have many Charanams in its part, and it is composed in familiar and regularly used raga, and it is very easy to sing for the learners. And now let us know some composers, famous composers of the Kirtana structure. Mainly all the Vagyakaras, including Tyagaraja, Ramadasu, Tallapaka Annamacharya, Purandaradasa, Toomu Narasimhadasa, Papanasham Shivan, Gopala Krishna Bharati, Kavi Kunjara Bharati, Ramalinga Swami, Neelakanta Shivan. In this way, there are many composers who have contributed their services for the Kirtana format. And for example of this Kirtanas are Paripalaya, that is composed by Sri Tyagaraja, and it is mainly composed as Utsava Sampradaya Kirtana. He has splitted some Kirtanas in Utsava Sampradaya Kirtana, Pancharatna Kirtana and Kuvuru Pancharatnas. In this way, there are many divisions in Kirtana, but today you are going to know some of the details of the Tyagaraja Kirtana, that is Paripalaya. This Paripalaya Kirtana is called as Utsava Sampradaya Kirtana or Divyanama Kirtana. That is that comes like this: Paripalaya 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 Raghunatha. This is a Pallavi, and following this Pallavi, all the remaining Charanams of this Tyagaraja Kirtana, the tune or the music composed is in the same way. That is in the next Charanam, Puja Vidhi Naija Tyagaraja Kritamu Raghunatha. In this way, the Pallavi and the last Charanams are all the same tune. Now moving to the next Kirtana, that is Takkuvemi Manaku, composed by Ramadasa. If you observe the first Charanam and the last Charanam till the last Charanam, all the tunes are the same. That is Surala Koraku Mandara Giri Mosina Kurmaavataruni Krupamana Kundaga. This is one Charanam, and Ramadasuni Gachedi Sriman Narayanu Niranam Miyundaga. All the 7 or 8 Charanams of this Kirtana are the same musical format. And moving to the next, Brahma Mokkate, that is composed by Annamacharya Kirtana, and that also if you observe in the first Charanam, Kanduvagu Heenadhi Kamulindu Levu. This is the same pattern. Kadagiye Nugumida Kayu Endukate. So showing these examples, we can know that all the Anupallavi or Charanams, the first Charanam, the tunes are same to the last Charanam. And Purandaradasa also composed Venkatachanilayam in Sindhu Bhairavi Raga Aditala, and Toomu Narasimhadasa, he has composed Rama Rama Yanarada in Sindhu Bhairavi Raga Aditala, and Papanasham Shivan, he is a Tamil composer, and he has composed Ennatavam Shaidanai, that Kirtana in Kapi Raga and Aditala. So till now you have known that many composers like Tyagaraja and all the Vagyakaras gave their contributions to the format of Kirtana, and now we are going to format that is called Kriti. After Kirtana, the Kriti is a developed form of Kirtana. The finest and important musical composition sung in concerts is Kriti, because the Kriti can be able to sing along with the Ragalapana, Swarakalpana, Niraval and many more patterns in the Kriti. Whereas in Kirtana, there is no scope of singing Alapana, no Swarakalpana and no Niraval, because it is very simpler form. But whereas Kriti, you can add Ragalapana, Swarakalpana, Niraval and many more parts to the Kriti. Now you are going to know some particulars of different musical forms, and the chapter is Padam. Padam is a musical form resembling the structure of Kirtana, that is Pallavi, Charanams included in the Padam, and it resembles like Kirtana. And this Padam propagates the attachment of love for God with the innumerable aspects of Nayika and Nayaka bhavas. And this Padam is the perfect blend of swara and sahitya, because in Kirtana, if you observe, the sahityam has a more preference, in Kriti the swaram has a more preference, but whereas in the Padam it is a perfect blend of swara and also sahitya. The signature or mudra of the composers of Padam may occur in Pallavi, Anupallavi or last Charanam. And these Padams, colloquial words figure in this Sahityam Padams, and music for these Padams is very slow and slow flow in the natural manner. For example of these Padams are 𝗹𝗶𝗸 that is composed in Shankarabharana Raga, Mr. Chaputala, and this Kshetraya, he has composed more than 2000 Padams and he is very popularly known in the dance field too. The other composers of Padam are Sarangapani, Veerabhadraya, Shaji Maharaj and also Venkatarama Shastri. Now we are going to know some particulars about different musical forms of South Indian music, and the chapter is Javali. The Javali, the music of Javali is faster than Padam. The music or the tempo in the Padam is very slow, but in Javali the tempo is very faster than Padam, and the language used in Javalis is colloquial, and the music used in Javalis is very lighter, and the Sahityam has got more preference in Javali, and the Javali word is adapted from Kannada language, and ragas regularly used for the compositions of Javalis are Khamas, Bhairavi, Kambhoji, Janjoti, Hindustani Kapi and Amir Kalyani. And the tempo of Javali is very medium. It is not too fast, too slow, but it is composed in the medium tempo. And Pallavi, Anupallavi and Charanams are the main parts of Javali. In some Javalis composed along with Chitta Swaram too, because not only Pallavi, Anupallavi, Charanam, some of the composers have composed some Chitta Swaram in the last part of the Charanam of Javalis. And some main composers of this Javalis are Ramanad Srinivasa Iyengar, Swati Tirunal, Patnam Subramanya Iyer, Dharmapuri Subbayyer, Shivaramaya, Pattabhiramaya. And some examples of these Javalis are Parulanna Mata, that is Kapi Raga Rupakatala, Ni Matale Mayanura, that is composed in Purvi Kalyani Raga Aditala, and Maryada Teliyakane. This Javali is composed in Surati Raga Rupakatala. Now you are going to know some particulars about different musical forms of South Indian Carnatic music, and the chapter is Ashtapadi. This Ashtapadi refers to Sanskrit hymns of Geetha Govinda Kavya. This Geetha Govindam was written by Bhakta Jayadeva in 12th century, and this Ashtapadi was the first music composition in Kirtana format. The parts of Ashtapadi are Pallavi, Anupallavi and Charanams, and the music of all the Charanams will be the same in the Ashtapadis, and the meaning of Ashtapadi is 8 steps. The lyrical poetry of Ashtapadi is also divided into 12 chapters, and each chapter is subdivided into divisions and they are called as Prabandhas. Each chapter is called as Prabandhas, and there are totally 24 Ashtapadis in the full Geetha Govindam chapter. These Ashtapadis are regularly used for music and dance concerts too. Some of the examples for Ashtapadi are Radhika Krishna, Pasyati Disi Disi, Savirahe Tavadhina and Sanchara Dadhara, Nadahare Jagannadahare, Yehi Murare. These are all the good examples for Ashtapadi compositions. And now we are moving to the different parts of musical forms of South Indian Carnatic music, and the chapter is Taranga. The composer Narayana Tirtha was the author of a Sanskrit opera called Sri Krishna Leela Tarangini, and it explains the life story of Krishna from his birth, childhood and ends with the marriage with Rukmini. The songs are popularly called as Tarangas, that means the waves. Every Taranga has one sloka, one vachanas before the song, and the ragas regularly used for Tarangas is Shankarabharanam, Todi, Kalyani, Kambhoji, and also in Ghanta, Revagupti and Desakshi. And now tarangas, some of the examples of tarangas are popularly known as Madhava Mamava, that comes like this. Madhava Mamava Deva Krishna Yadava Krishna Yadukula Krishna. This is composed in Kedar Raga Aditala, that is Madhava Mamava. And the next one 𝗵𝗵 Jagan Mohana Krishna, that is also composed in Kedar Raga Aditala. And mainly in dance, Kuchipudi dance, there is very popularly known taranga, that is Neelamegha Sharira, composed in Mohana Raga Aditala. It is very popularly known in dance, and they also do some vinyasas on the plate dance with their feet on the plate, and this tarangam is used in this dance format also. And moving to the next, Bruhi Mukundeti, that is also composed in Aditala. And 𝗵𝗵 Mam, this is a very rare raga composed for taranga. So till now you have learnt all the different forms, musical forms of South Indian Carnatic music, that is taranga, Javali, Padam, Kirtana, Kriti, Varna and basics, Abhyasagana, that is Geethams.